authority that is vested in an individual. Okay? If people believe in that authority, then what we are saying is that is enough to induce certain changes to their system. And I think that probably has its origin in the dominance of individuals in a group setting. Of course, now things are a little bit different because we don't live in groups where there's a leader any longer. But I think that's really where, because you have to think about these things. If they exist, then why do they exist? Where do they come from? And I think that's probably where it comes from. It comes from the fact that if you're a leader, you need to be able to control. And so, if the other individuals, the subordinate individuals, invest authority in you, then they will respond appropriately.
So how you explain human government?
I don't explain human government. I mean, because that is I am trying to be scientific ability. I am trying to be biological ability. Once you start talking about government, you bring in a whole lot of other aspects. So I don't really want to go there. But what I'm saying to you is that the mechanism has to exist for a reason, and that might be one reason for it. It's interesting. I didn't have enough time, and I don't want to do what I understand other people have done and give you another lecture in the tutorial. I don't really want that. What I want you to do is to reflect on what I was talking about. But let me just take an aside for a minute. I mean, the really interesting thing is that here you have opioids, which are undoubtedly the things that are at the basis of things. And you also find a very similar chemical which is now being used as a major drug of abuse. And the only way that these opiates, which are, as I said, things like heroin and so on, the only way those things can operate is because the receptors already exist in the nervous system. And if you think about those drugs, those are very powerful drugs. Now, if the opioids, which are parallel to the opiates, right, are as powerful as that, you see you're dealing with some really serious chemicals which are able to override considerable effects, I mean not just pain. So is it possible then that you can overcome illness through that mechanism? No.
So you don't overcome it, you think you have overcome it. You're not feeling the effects, but it's still there.
Basically, the placebo effect kind of affects diseases or illnesses that are hormone related. As in like hypertension, diabetes, anything that has receptors that. So if you have cancer, I don't think anything in the body just naturally because you need to fight it. But if you have diabetes, probably think it's hormone release causing an effect to fight it.
So you can treat
and even if they feel better after being administered a sugar pill, is there scientific evidence to prove that they have become better?
Well, what does better mean?
The illness is gone, as in there's no. Your body is functioning normally, as in.
You know, I mean, where do you draw the line? I mean, what really is illness? To what extent is illness to what extent is it a physical phenomenon? Because that's really what you're saying. To what extent is it a psychological phenomenon? That's really the problem that you have. Because you see, no matter what you say, in all illness there are elements of both things. I mean, I think it was you who said you can make yourself feel sick in the general sense. So there's both a physical element and a psychological element. So if that is the case, and if we accept that through inducing the release of opioids, we are able to overcome that, then technically most illnesses should be curable.
By weed and heroin.
So I don't agree.
Why don't you agree?
Because I think you can treat the symptoms, but you can't treat the actual. Right. The proof that of you being sick, if I should test you, you'll still be sick, but it's just that you won't be, you can't tell me that you're feeling sick. You think
you're not high.
So let's take an example. Let's say you suffer from